Taranjot, over to you. We may start now.
Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome to this new chapter for Collegedunia Connect Season 1. In a future of unprecedented societal shifts, education is crucial to manage the challenges ahead. With more automated, digitized, and fluid job markets, today's higher education systems are quickly becoming incompatible with the future we are looking towards. We are 2 decades into the 21st century, and yet the higher education is generally still geared in succeeding the 20th. While most debates around the future of education focus on the skills needed for the future and the imperative of reskilling and upskilling, it is equally important to discuss the inevitable structural transformation of higher education and the role of younger generation of business leaders will have to play in this structural transformation. With me, there's a dynamic panel today evening, and without a further ado, let me just let me introduce to this new panel. Ms. Sakshi Aggarwal, the Executive Director for Sage University. Being the new bird in the world of entrepreneurship, Sakshi always loved challenges. As an Executive Director of one of the biggest conglomerate firm of Central India, which is the Sage Group, she looks after the development and the managing of over 2,500 employees in the real estate and education sector. A graduate from Narsi Munji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai, and Masters in Management from Singapore Management University. Her modern thinking and ideas are making a big impact which becomes a reason that the ex-Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Mr. Kamal Nath, felicitated her with the Young Entrepreneur Award in 2019. Welcome, Sakshi.
Thank you so much for welcoming me. Thank you.
Mr. Er.Koneru, the Vice President of KL University. Mr. Koneru is a Bachelor in Science from University of Illinois and a Master's in Science from the Northwestern University in Biotechnology, as an entrepreneur and the founder for TechStart Inc. Mr. Raja is currently serving as the Vice President of KL University. TechStart Inc. is a Vijayawada-based technology and a business incubator that helps students with startups and early age companies to develop, providing services and training. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Mr. Sahil Agrawal.
Thank you. Thanks for the welcome.
Mr. Sahil Agrawal, the co-founder and CEO of the Rishihood. Mr. Sahil Agrawal is MA in Diplomacy from Jindal Global University, a BTech from IIT Delhi. He's very passionate about institution building, strategic initiatives for India. Good to have you, Mr. Sahil.
Thanks, Sanjot. Good to be here.
Mr. Jyotishman Datta, the Managing Trustee for Assam Downtown University, leading the organization of Northeastern India and sponsor for the Assam Downtown University. He has been instrumental in setting up the largest university in the Northeastern region. Today, it boasts of over 6,000 students on campus. Their vision is to set up one of the most research and technologically driven university in the country in the coming years. A very warm welcome, Jyotishman, sir.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Right. So that's the panelist for the evening. And let's start off with Miss Sakshi here. Miss Sakshi, what is the take on your topic? What is the need of the younger generation to be part of the business community, specifically for the education sector? What's your take on it?
Definitely. So thank you for having me here. Thank you for asking this question. I think what our generation is going through is a digital revolution. So with us getting in contact with what is happening in the world and the digital transformation that is there, we are watching it now. And it is us who can inculcate this practice into the coming education scenario. So I think with us, the modern thinking and I'm not saying that this will end with us. The next generation would also be a better generation. The next generation to that would also be generation which would have something else that the prior generation didn't have. The balance between the generation which has experience and the newer generation which has unique ideas and modern thinking, there has to be that balance to achieve, I think, greater success that can help society. And that is very relevant in education also.
Over to Mr. Hareen, sir. What's your first comments on the topic?
So I would say education it's not like any other industry. It's, you know, you have to measure it by outcome, like how much people like you have to have a measurable outcome of education. So I would say for younger generation, there's a lot more, that's involved in terms of how we change things in existing system, and also to learn from, the past experiences of, the prior leaders, what they have done, and you have to try to understand the cycles, the ups and downs of running an institution. And when there's a downturn like COVID-19 that we're facing now, we should look into the past, take lessons from what our leaders have already, done in the past when situations like this have come. And by learning through those experiences, we can actually predict the future and try to, take action today to actually remake the future of the institution. So, in my perspective, it's a mix. Like getting in new ideas, I would say is very good thing. But we also have to look at the past. At both, it should be a mixture of both past and our current experiences to actually lead an institution to a very high to a high level.
Thanks, Mr. Hareen. Mr. Jyotishman Datta, your first comments on this topic, please.
See, as a young leader, you have a lot of advantage. The moment you joined, when we started the university, I was a student just a couple of years back. So when I joined, I saw perspective as a senior management, but also I came on the board with all the problems I faced myself as a student in various colleges in India. So when you come, you're more sensitive to the problems the students have. As from the academic point of view, I have nothing to offer in terms of what the dean or the vice chancellor can offer. But what I can offer is a different way of presenting that. I have, as a student, faced the same classes, the typical chalkboard classes which we have in the best government colleges in India. Now, how to present it in a different way? I got bored, say example, 3 years back as a student studying in that same classroom. I don't want the students in this university now to get bored. So how to present it in a different way? Perhaps that is the bridge I have been from day one, the bridge between a student and the senior management. And also it feels nicer. You are always connected to students. So I have always played that bridge. That has been the reason that I have always been more receptive to what the students wanted. And I have been trying to always get the senior academic leadership to understand that and be more student friendly. Because at the end of the day, that is very essential. If you're more student friendly, students are more interested to learn. And at the end of the day, university that can help the students learn better will always excel. That has been always the biggest advantage if you're a young leader. And I think all leaders today here would have brought that to the table when they started.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Datta. Very valid point. We'll be coming back to the point specifically for sure. Mr. Sahil Aggarwal, your thoughts on this in the topic, please.
I absolutely resonate with what has been said. I'll also add that I see this as an opportunity that people at our age have got. And if we look at India's evolution, we would not have got this 15 or 20 years ago. The socio-economic conditions of our country were very different. So our generation has this privilege, not just in education sector, but generally in business, that the volume and scope of family businesses has increased, and this will continue for the coming generation also. So there is a growing demand for young leadership to step up and take the mantle. So what I see people like us bring to the table, while it's a very big privilege to be working on such projects at this age, is that we have energy, and academic institutions are serious places. So sometimes when there is so much of seriousness, the lethargy steps in, and it's difficult to bring a change. And that's what people like us can contribute. And on top of that, we have the luxury to fail. No one would judge us because of our failures. So a combination of these two factors is helping us add value to these institutions.
My question to you, Mrs. Sahil, that you are young, and not only you are young, that the university itself is young. Is it very helpful with respect to being a young leader and leading it from the front for the for a new university, or is it like better to have someone very much more experienced to start off with a new university?
So I never thought of it this way, but I think it's a, very big opportunity for me because there's no legacy to balance with the sort of change management that we talk of. So what we have is a completely blank slate, and it's totally up to the university's leadership to define what the university is going to be. So what we have been able to do is get a team which is very aligned in the vision. And that's why being young is not at all a challenge here. It's rather being appreciated.
So it's basically an opportunity,
Yeah.
I would say. The counter question to Mr. Hareen here, you are in fact managing a 40-year-old university here.
Right.
Is it a challenge or an opportunity for you?
I would say it's there is a mixture of both. You have your own challenges because now currently we are, before we became university, as an engineering college, we had one of the highest NAC, actually the highest NAC grade for any private engineering college at that time. And after becoming university and today, last year, our NAC rating is A++, and so we still have among private deemed universities one of the highest NAC ratings. So in terms of maintaining that quality, I would say it is a challenge because when you already have a high level of quality, that is already the standards that are set. So your benchmark is already set as at the highest level.
Yeah.
So to maintain that kind of quality, it is definitely a challenge. But what I see as an opportunity is because you have that highest, one of the highest NAC grades, and you have a legacy of 40 years old as an institution, you have the credibility in the market, you have trust in the market. So using all of that, all of this can be leveraged to bring out innovative courses and bring out innovative teaching methodologies, and take students who are studying in the university to a higher level. So I look at that as an opportunity. So like this, there's definitely both of these, both the challenges and also opportunities. So it's a mixture of both.
Miss Sakshi, what's your take on this? Because benchmarks are being set. Certain benchmarks will be there with respect to the elder generation.
You're asking me the question where we also have a young university.
Yeah.
Though we are into education business for the past 18 years, but still we came up with the University Sage University in 2017 in Indore, and the next one we launched in Bhopal in this year only. So I think it is very, very good to be involved in the startup of something. Because when I compare myself to handling the colleges, the 5 engineering colleges that we have here, and the multiple MBA colleges, and so it's a different thing. The systems have become automatic there. Things are already happening. People are in place who are doing those things. So it's basically you have to pinpoint and find what can you do. Whereas when you're in a young university which is starting up, you have a lot to do, and you can give your inputs in so many things. You can influence people. You can bring out new innovations that are coming in, and utilize that to give something more to the generation right now. And you have a big part to play in the university role. So I think that I am very fortunate that I have been involved since the very start in the making of a university. And I'm very proud that within 2-3 years of the establishment, we have done so much in the university, the tie-ups that we have, and the kind of research program that we're doing, consultancies we are doing, the innovation centers that we have tied up with MHRD, and we have good research projects, internship programs for students here, where they have been to Tennessee Tech University, USA, and for internships in Brunel University. So I think these kind of experiences will help a young person to actually be very beneficial to the older generation, which has already been in the business been in the education industry for past 30 to 40 years. So I think it's a great opportunity for us, for all the younger generation who are getting involved in family businesses.
Thanks a lot, Sakshi. I mean, the one fact is completely clear from this, from all of you, that it's an underlying opportunity. My question to Mr. Daushaman Datta is that how do you think, isn't it challenging to kind of go against the legacy systems or put yourself immersed in the legacy systems and then doing your bit? Because at the end of the day, whatever you do will be going to be matched with your with the elder generation for sure. Don't you think that itself is the biggest challenge?
Is a challenge, but see, downtown, we started it. I was the first guy. We were starting it. I didn't inherit
The legacy systems, the legacy systems.
Yeah, but the systems are always there. It's a hard fight with them, but then it's very difficult to pinpoint. We'd had some very senior faculty, which is the most conventional experience, but they have been some of the most radical when it comes up with coming up with new ideas. So that is a challenge that you always will face. With a lot of these academic leaders, they have their X ideas. You put forward your Y ideas. That clash is going on even today. I will not say that it's done.
Yeah.
But somewhere there, you need that experience. Also, you need the legacy even. From that, you will have to start out something new. That is a continuous tussle. I think every university, new role is going to face. Even if you theoretically are not an old university, you will come up with people who will come up with legacy.
Yeah.
And that itself is the beginning of even a new university. And whatever happens, I think even if you're based in Delhi or Bangalore or Bombay, because more or less India, the education system has been more or less homogeneous. So more or less the similar ideas crop up across the country. It's a similar mentality that crops up across the country. So these are the same challenges that I think irrespective of the region, more or less some things are common. So it's a thing. You have to fight with the legacy, but this all legacy is not, there's nothing negative about having a old legacy also. It's a challenge. I cannot pinpoint a clear answer to you, but it's a challenge always. It's an ongoing challenge that you have to kind of face on a daily basis.
Mr. Hareen, what's your thought? I mean, legacy, a big challenge?
Legacy is, like I told, the way you look at, like maintaining the same standards, definitely be a challenge. But all that you have earned, the legacy, in terms of trust and things like that, there will be definitely great opportunities. For example, if we are going for, diversification of different courses that we have, immediately it's not going to be like a new institution starting new course. So a lot of marketing is just, I would say, just people like our students, if they know about the new course that is being started, I think there itself admissions will start by referrals. So half of our admissions, I would say, is probably coming from referrals because of the legacy that we have as an old and trustworthy university. So, and the rest of the half would be, with the new earned standards or the new things that we are starting or how we are evolving. I would say, being an old institution, a lot of people might have misconception that we're not changing. But what is permanent in an institution, what should be permanent in an institution is, like, I would say, change every year, taking inputs. Like, for example, in this COVID-19 era, what we have done is immediately transform ourselves into a digital university. We've finished classes in the last 2-3 weeks of teaching online, and then we have done testing online, and then now from day after tomorrow we have our admissions test starting, which is going to be online. So like this transformation we're able to do simply because we have already have this digital infrastructure built. So all of this is only coming because we are adapting to change, and we don't see change, just because we are an old institution. It doesn't mean that we do not have the abilities to evolve fast enough, or the ability to actually sense what is going to be the future market. So we can sense the future market, and we can take it in. And so continuously evolving. I've been working with the university for the last 7-8 years. So in this 7-8 years, every academic year, I would say, is a new year for us. We've been seeing like how certain branches in engineering have gone up in terms of demand, or engineering itself is coming down. in general market, and people are taking that they're trying to take other courses, and all these changes we're seeing. We've seen how teaching and learning is changing. Now the mood is making students learn, not teaching to the students. So it's not like simply because if you have expert teachers, it doesn't mean student is going to learn. You have to see that output is delivered. You have to see you have students who are reaching that output, who are able to reach that what is expected. So now learning is becoming a blended learning. So it is just not classroom teaching that we are depending on. So like this, bringing in new things, I would say it's we will be able to use a new technology, and so legacy on the other side would be something that will help you.
Perfect. Mr. Datta, I would request you to tell me what is the vision for Assam Downtown University. My questions will subsequent to that. What is your vision? Just
To
tell
be
me.
honest with you, we just started because we have other businesses. So we needed manpower, to be very honest with you. There were no colleges then, so we started a college. That's how it became a university today. So when we started, the agenda was to start a small university just to cater to our group companies. And then now it has become something else. So what we thought was that biggest challenge for us was an idea that Northeast has been the biggest source of students from across India for the last 20 years. On a Bangalore, Delhi, bulk of the students have always gone from Northeast. So biggest challenge was to fight that mentality that in Northeast, can you give the same quality, can you study? So that is something that we were not sure would people accept or not, but people have really accepted that even more than how we anticipated. So we have gone from that phase to survive and to break that mentality. Now the fact is we are almost as good as many other universities there. But now I think for us, it's more important to go to set up something different. Initial plan was honestly, the benchmark was much lower what we were targeting. Because with the challenges, the setup had a lot of problems. But now the benchmark is to do things irrespective of whether it's being done in the country or not. So we have our own challenges because of our geographical problems. So we adopted systems a long time ago, in fact, 5 years ago. And we've been running a lot of our programs online, some aspects of it, because we could not get faculties in Northeast. So we had to adopt some faculties, our guest faculties had to be adopted from Delhi, from Bombay, because we didn't have the facility. So we were adopting these systems. And luckily for us, this COVID happened. And then a lot of other faculties also who were reluctant are now going online because now it has become like a catalyst. So our biggest aim right now is to do things, whichever are the problems that we had, to adapt to that and give students the best facility that we can give vis-a-vis any university anywhere else in India, despite certain huge problems that we face in terms of industry interaction and faculties. We have that problem. We have a huge problem. But if things move online, better for universities like us, we get a more level playing field because online kills the geographical problem. And that is a great benefit for us. So hopefully if things move online, we can shift more and more things online, and hopefully that disadvantage that we have in certain aspects would not remain. So our biggest hope and biggest challenge would be to remove even the disadvantages other than that we will have vis-a-vis any of the other universities based in the metro. So in the next 5 to 10 years, we just hope to be one of the best, irrespective of our problems in the country. Give them all the exposures that any university based in Bombay or Bangalore can give. We want to give the same.
And do you think the vision would have been different if the university would have been founded by someone else, someone much more elder? Do you think the
It's
vision?
difficult to say that. It's difficult for me to say that because honestly, I was associated with the business initially. Because of the problems, we set up the training center. I set up the training center, not me alone. I would not say me alone. And then the idea of the university came. So would someone else have a different vision? It's difficult for me to say. But organically talking in the problems that we have, it's your problems that makes you behave the way you do.
Yeah.
So the problems and the challenges has made us think the way we think. So even if there was someone else, more or less, he would have thought in a similar line. But being younger, I think you are more receptive and you want to adapt more and you're more hungry. Because now I have a vision for the next 30 to 40 years because I think I'll be working even after 40 years. So my vision is much more longer than someone, a promoter, maybe who'd be in his 50s for a very basic reason, because I think I'll be still around when I'm another 30 to 40 years. I'll be more or less at the helms of the university, though your vision is definitely much more long term. So that may be a huge factor in how you plan. But other than that, based on the challenges, this is the line of thinking you would follow. This is a logical line of thinking you would tend to follow here.
Sahil, what would you say? Will the vision be different for Rishihood University?
Would the vision be different if what?
Would the vision be different if Rishihood University was not founded by you, but let's say your father? Would it be different?
I mean, it's a joint initiative. It's not that I'm founding it and my father is just financing it. It's a collective vision that we are developing, and I don't think it would have been different because the vision has developed over the last 5 years with a lot of deliberations.
Sakshi, what are your thoughts? Is your vision completely inclined with Mrs. Sanjeev's vision?
So I think when we're talking about vision, see, we started with real estate industry 38 years back, right? And the only reason my father, Engineer Sanjeev Agrawal, the Chancellor of the Sage University, entered into education is because he thinks the growth of a society can happen if the young minds are developed to be responsible citizens and to do what they love to do. Not the point of education is to get a person to become a good human being and learn a skill which can earn the living. And I think that the vision of the Sage University resonates with the thinking of our Chancellor, sir. After 5 years, I think that what I really aspire for Sage University is that all the students that are in the university learn practically about each and every topic that is happening in each and every subject. It should not just be paper pen present PowerPoint presentation देखो हो गया जाके एग्जाम दे दो और पास हो जाओ अच्छे मार्क्स आ गए वो आप सीवी में दिखा देना सीवी में अच्छे मार्क्स दिखाने के बाद भी आप जब सामने प्लेसमेंट वाले के बाद बैठे वो आपकी प्रैक्टिकल नॉलेज चेक करता है तो द पॉइंट हमारे पास ये है कि जब मैं इसकी बात कर रही हूँ कि विजन क्या होने चाहिए मेरा विजन ये है कि जब बच्चा अपने फाइनल ईयर में हो तो उसके दिमाग में ये नहीं हो कि यार अब मुझे डर लग रहा है मुझे ये प्लेसमेंट कंपनी आई है वो मुझे ले ले उसके दिमाग में ये हो कि मेरे पास 3 ऑप्शन है व्हाट डू आई वांट टू चूज राइट दैट शुड बी द प्रैक्टिकल ट्रेनिंग जो प्रोवाइड बच्चों को करानी चाहिए एंड वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स दैट वी हैव डन अ लॉट ऑफ टाई अप्स इफ यू गिव मी टाइम देन
I'll come to that aspect, that what initiatives categorically Sakshi Aggarwal has taken toward moving toward vision.
Oh, definitely. So as soon as I entered, because I have, when I was studying in Singapore and when I was in Bhopal before that, right? Since then, I have been involved in the journey of Sage. The parameter might be different because the time devoted might be different, but I have been involved in the curriculum development. I've been involved in the extracurricular initiatives and the innovation centers that we have been developing since the very start. So Sage University has its own innovation center, and that innovation center is doing a lot of great things using mind maps. So we have a lot of student projects that who want to give it a startup. So through that innovation center, we are gathering funding and getting them a step up to move towards that. So if you talk about what Sakshi Agrawal has done, so basically I can say that there's a lot of creativity enhancement through these innovation centers and through the tie-ups. What I'm talking about, the practical learning. I can see that in these 2-3 years, we have done more than 15 types with the industries experts like Apple, like Microfocus, Amazon, AWS, Huawei Technology. So it's just that these people are coming in, they're telling their practical knowledge, the students are learning it, and then they can choose if they want to go to that company to work later on or not. So I think this way, this fear that students have that will I get placed will remove. Secondly, we are also teaching interdisciplinary subjects. MBA will have IT classes so that when they go in the future, they know what AI is, right? The head of institute that we have in our university is in MTech and AI. So I think if we have these kind of people working with us and the vision is same for everyone, that the end product should be the best, then I think that we can have a lot of improvement in the future generation that will be the torch bearers of this country.
That's very well put, I think. Mr. Sahil, what do you think that uh, with respect to with respect to students who are joining in, uh, do you think that these students reciprocate or they resonate more with young leaders at the helm of a university?
So I'm not sure about that because this is our first season, academic year, and we'll get to know that. But my feel is that they would like to resonate more with young leaders and young faculty. Although the interface of the students, most of the time, is with their faculty members. It's not with the leadership of the university. But being having a lot of youthful ideas in the leadership enables us to think more like our students, and that becomes an advantage because then, as Sakshi was saying, we can design learning in a way which becomes natural for our students, and that is what we have been able to do till now at Rishihood.
Mr. Datta, what's your thought? Do you think it resonates much more if the young leadership is at the helm?
Personally, you're talking about the leadership. Now, on a day-to-day basis, the students don't even know I exist. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, but
99% students have never heard me. They don't even know me. Somewhere they've seen my board, so it doesn't matter to them. They do resonate better with faculties and members who are more receptive to what they want to say, the way they want to speak, not really to age. Obviously, age, yes, when they see a young person, they're receptive at the first glance.
yeah.
But it's very sad to say some of our younger faculty are more old in terms of the mentality and behavior. It's not literally in terms of age. But yes, if you are receptive to them, you talk in their way, their language, they are more willing to connect with you and share with you things which they would not share otherwise, which is very important. Because today's students are having their own weird problems. And sorry, weird is not the right word. Meaning, even I feel disconnected with the generation that has come in. Even if our gap is so less, because there's so much of gap has been built in. So these are the things that you need to understand, because their issues, if you don't understand, you cannot help them learn. Because sorry?
I think I'll just quickly add here, Jyotishman is absolutely right. The main responsibility of an academic institution does not lie with the leadership, it lies with the faculty. And that's why it's important to have faculty which is aligned in the vision.
Exactly.
As a young leadership, all we do is sometimes universities take a lot of time in planning and deciding. I'll be honest with you. We have more or less left the decision making entirely on a democratic basis with the academic leadership. My biggest problem with academic leadership is not the intellect or the knowledge. They take a lot of time to decide. Somehow that has been ingrained in the Indian decision making system. So somehow you kind of have to push here and there once to get things going at a much faster pace. So that is one of the biggest roles I think I play in my university, kind of pushing things to be a little more faster.
Exactly.
There is a lot.
I'll pick that cue actually, that we were talking before as well, that the online education, the delivery module was right at the corner, but it actually took a pandemic to basically shift towards don't you think the younger leadership is more adaptable because they accelerate the change much faster? Don't you think that is true?
True. That's obviously true. If you're younger, you tend to be more receptive. But having said that, I would say that today, two of our academic leaders are almost in their mid 60s to late 60s. Believe me, they are pushing online examination much more than even I am today.
Oh.
Their ideas are much more radical than me. So yes, I would have loved to bring forward an idea. See, we wanted to do some online examination, shift certain sessional exams to entirely online mode. So our version was last year to do beta versions, to do maybe one semester. The top leadership forced us to do the whole university in one go. So we were not expecting that kind of support. So this is also something shocking for me. So we completely shifted a lot of things online at a much faster phase because we had full support of the top academic leadership. So again, as I said, young, yes, first impression in terms of young is always going to be helpful. But more, my word for young is being receptive and being adaptable to change. That is a surprise. I have been learning over the last few years. It's been surprising. It's not always related to age per se.
But the kind of region the Assam Downtown University is, where actually the development comes a little later. If it
Much later.
right, it comes much later. I mean,
Yeah.
the young leadership under your leadership, I think it's relatively faster. I think so.
Yeah, for whatever reasons, it's been fast. I told you, we adopted a lot of online practices 5 years ago. Why? We wanted to do a session with the CEO. Believe me, we can't find the CEO. So we didn't have a choice. So we had to do online. That was the only scope available. We had resources in Delhi, Bangalore, and that's how we used to have our placement training meets online. Not for any other reason. We just can't find a resource here. So we had to adopt for that only one reason. But then now suddenly everyone is talking about online. We had done it 5 years ago. So that is a lot of reasons. As I made, your challenges teach you. So our challenges forced us to adopt a lot of practices. So we had to do a lot of different things for simply the lack of resources, nothing else.
Mr. Hareen, what's your thought on this?
I would say, like, like I already mentioned, like, earlier, that you, being an old institution, you have challenges and opportunities. The things that are challenges only will be your opportunities. My perspective, like this, coming to this age factor also, in an institution, students don't age because you have fresh batch coming in and then old batch leaving. So the faculty who are already there working with the institution for a very long time, you will have two kinds of people who are like not student friendly and people who are student friendly. People who are student friendly are those people who actually tend to listen to students, what Mr. Jyotishman mentioned earlier. So if you're listening to students, it doesn't, age really doesn't matter. And so people, obviously, like what you said, students will tend to go approach younger faculty. There's no doubt about it. But it doesn't mean that that younger faculty will respond and help the student. So it is the mindset that of the faculty which actually will decide whether that faculty is going to be friendly with the student or not. So after first one or two interactions, the student will get to know the faculty well, and he would obviously know whether he is receptive to his problems or not. So at upfront, definitely young faculty will students will feel and faculty to be receptive, but even older faculty can be receptive to their problem.
My question, again, digging a little deeper into this aspect of adapting new technologies, education sector itself has been one of the lagging sectors across different. For example, if you take up FMCG, we take up automobile, they have been fast in adopting technology. I mean, they have been fast in technology, even marketing of those products. Education sector, on the other hand, has been I think the last sector who would actually adopt marketing strategies, moving digital. Uh, will the young leadership actually push this toward adopting marketing strategies and adopting a very professional outlook for how to market or brand your university or college? That will actually kind of give the push. What's your thoughts, Sakshi?
So yes, so as you were asking the question, the thing that was going on in your mind was, see, when I talk about my university, right? Sage University has been adopting previously the people that were involved in the business had a different kind of learning, right? They had a different kind of learning in the way they were taught things, in the way they saw social media, in the way they saw print media, in the way they saw digital marketing, right? What I have been grown up with is a different kind of social media, the magnanimous growth of this digital learning that is going on nowadays. So I think that it is not that education industry is stuck per se or was stuck. It is that the generations didn't know. It's not their mistake, they didn't know. It happened right now, right? So the digital marketing and everything that we grew up in, we are bringing that knowledge to perform in the universities for the betterment of students now. So if you talk about, are we moving to digital media? Yes, we are aggressively moving to all digital platforms and providing technology based learning even in the classes today. And we have a lot of tie-ups. If you talk about cyber forensics, we have IT courses. So these kind of, I think, technology driven industries that are at the helm of it, they know what is happening in the technology industry. If they come and teach these students, then I think it is very much apt that the current students and the future students will also be adaptable to the changes that happens in technology. And if I hope any of them enter the education industry, same will be seen by the education industry also.
What's your thought on this, Mrs. Sahil? What's your thought on this?
I resonate. A lot of my work is around policy and governance. Till now, one of the reasons why education has lagged behind in terms of innovation compared to other sectors is the policy and regulations didn't permit that. But that's going to change. If you've read the new education policy draft, and which is expected anytime now, the kind of reforms that have been proposed in the policy and which our education sector needs, they will completely transform the way we look at education. And in that, while we are doing that, online education and innovative education and alternate education and hybrid education, all these will become mainstream rather than becoming like fringe elements. So with this kind of change, the role that young people, people who are startup entrepreneurs can bring to education sector is immense. Having said that, there's a lot of guidance that we continuously need and should keep receiving from experienced academics, because what we are trying to do here is balance the utility of very profound academic thought with a very young, innovative form of delivery.
Mr. Datta, do you think the emphasis on skill will be much higher from this young breed of leaders as compared to the previous generations?
It'll be very unfair for me to say that in 10 years ago, 20 years ago, universities did not really teach skills. It's a very unfair thing to say on a very...
But the emphasis will be little more...
What exactly do you mean by skills? There's a lot of talk that universities in India don't adopt technology. They do not want to work on the skills. Every time, every 5 years, every 2 years, every 1 year, even the skills required as such from the industry would change. It is always changing. Yeah. No university in the last 100 years, if they have given students who did not have the skills, would not survive. So that is something I do not think I absolutely agree. Some sort of skills exchange in a university has always happened. Otherwise, there would be no reason for any student to study or a company to even come and recruit. So skills delivery has happened. What you're suggesting is maybe, are we adopting the new skills that the industry wants? Having said that, what you're saying is relevant maybe for IT. Yeah. Because yes, a lot of changes have been happening, but a lot of our conventional subjects that we teach, we're teaching a lot of applied sciences. A lot of the basics have been same. Yes, the way you deliver has changed. A lot of new things have come forward. But conventional knowledge in many of the conventional streams have always been the same. All you can do is maybe come up with more efficient, more student-friendly ways of delivering that same knowledge. As such, the knowledge has not really changed. Yes, there has been changes. What mostly people talk about in this, I would understand from you, is yes, IT. IT is very, very, very dynamic. Every 6 months, every 1 year, the platforms change, the requirements change. So delivering IT is a huge, huge, huge challenge. But other than that, yes, skill exchange has been important and will always be important. Otherwise, I don't think any university would survive. In the last X years, it would have never survived.
And what about adapting new courses, like you said, adapting technologies for IT? I mean, building new courses for, like, let's say data science, big data, and artificial intelligence. And I mean, this will expedite with new leaders coming into the system.
See, that is always true. See, I am a non-IT person. I'll personally tell you this. I am a non-IT person, as far from IT as possible, personally. So a lot of the ideas you hear about big data, you hear about AI. But I'll tell you very functionally, I've heard all this. I've been hearing all this. We have all these programs. Practically, our company is actually judging you on your AI knowledge and recruiting you. Are they actually judging? Yes, some are, but most are not even judging you on those parameters. They're judging you on other parameters. So that linkage you always have to have. So yes, how many companies, when they come for recruitment, I'm talking about IT companies, would actually have an aptitude test where they're testing your knowledge of, say, AI or big data? Most are not. Most would recruit you for other roles even. So those are the other things you have to kind of see. Yes, big data, whatever you're saying, those things have already been adopted. Tomorrow, there would be something new that would come up. I'm sure by the time these students pass out, There would be new platforms that would be ready. So those things, we are always adaptive, but this is a big challenge. As I said, IT is a big challenge. What we have seen in the last 3 years has been very different. 3 years ago, companies wanted to recruit CSC.
Mhm.
Last year, this year, some of the largest companies have come up and said, we want CSC / BCA / BSCIT / BA / BSc. Then we asked them, what do you want? He said, just get them for the interview. We'll do an aptitude test. If they're good, we'll take them. Believe me, a programming job this time, they hired a student from physiotherapy who has no knowledge of programming. And we had no idea why was he hired. They said he has the aptitude to learn programming, so we hired him. Now tell me, what challenges are we facing? I have no clue. In these kind of scenarios, the challenges you face are going to be even more difficult to understand.
Mr. Hareen, what is your thought on this? On building new courses?
I want to, answer two of the questions that you asked. One is about skills, and one is about adaptability in this, modernization. So what we have done is, like, it took a very long. I mean, we've been thinking about skilling for a very long time, even before the skill initiative that most of Indian institutions have been talking about. But about 5 years, 3 years ago, 5 to 3 years ago, what we have done is to truly understand what skills mean. Even today, a lot of parents don't know what skilling is really. Uh, so skilling is one of the greatest changes that we brought into the university. What we told for ourselves is that every course that we teach in KL University has to have skill component to it. That means, 30 years ago, if you see, people just having a degree was enough. And then later on came these communication skills, ability to speak and talk and things like that. And now then came, C++ and all these programming languages. So like this, now what we are seeing is every field, whether it is engineering or non-engineering, companies are recruiting if students have certain ability to do something. If they have just simple bookish knowledge, they're not recruiting, or you're simply going to get that 20,000 rupees per month salary or something like that. So the last 5 years, we have been constantly challenging ourselves to increase the median or the mean salary of the student at KL University. What we have observed is, like, students who are skilled in different domains.
Mhm.
That means he should be on par, with somebody who's working in the industry for the last 20 years. Like, when a student goes out and has, like, on experience, he will only be given is given. But in the university, we can decide, okay, if it is a pharmaceutical industry, you have the upstream jobs, you have downstream jobs, and you have the jobs in research and things like that. So you can send these students either in the form of internship to actually work and experience and gain skills, or you can have certificate programs in the university itself on a specific tools or skill set. Like this, you have different methods to actually make the student learn and gain skills. And so when you are brought into the market, and put for job placement, especially new skills like AI and things like that. If your student has AI skills or machine learning, things like that, cyber security, these are skills that are not available in the market in IT industry. But now you have these batch of students, fresh, they're open to any kind of learning. It is easy for them to learn because they're here to learn. So if you're able to teach these skills to them, they'll definitely get paid equivalent to somebody who has some 5 years experience, or even sometimes 10 years experience. That's what we're seeing. So skilling is definitely the major change that we brought in the university. So answering both of your questions, what is how we are adapting to new technology? It is the skilling, that technology skilling, especially, that we got in and made curriculum change different ways to make student more employable and to also get higher salary.
we have a couple of questions which are coming up. There's a question that has come up on YouTube Live as well. Sakshi, my question to you categorically is that do you think the collaborations with the existing edtech platforms, let's say with the likes of Upgrad, Jigsaw, and everything, that will actually improve the institutional education business and change the entire higher education scenario that is currently prevailing in the country?
So I think every edtech company that is coming up right now is providing a different kind of view and different kind of skills, right? And I think to some extent, I think that will be beneficial for a university to get collaborated with them on some platforms where you test the experts that they have, what kind of knowledge they are offering. So if all that is satisfied, then why not, right? But your second part of the question, will it change the education industry? I don't think so. It will change the education industry because it's not something to be changed in a second, right? The disruption will happen in the industry because of online and everything. But I don't think the traditional educational setup of a university will change for 100 to 200 years. I don't think so that will happen.
Meanwhile, to the viewers, the polls are very much live. I would request everyone to have a look at the polls as well. We'll come back to polls for sure. Sahil, what do you think? The courses and the tie-ups, the collaborations can actually help transform the education industry?
Right. So as a university, we are very upbeat about new kinds of courses. So even most of our schools, so we have School of Creativity, School of Entrepreneurship, School of Education. So for example, we have a course on education leadership. So this is the kind of thinking that has been going on, and it stems from our vision that we want to create programs which lead to a social impact. And that enables us to design a lot of new courses as degree programs as well as individual credit courses. So just yesterday, we were having a discussion in our academic team about what kind of general education courses we should offer. And we discussed a range of courses from philosophy to sustainability to history that becomes part of everyone's education, irrespective of what domain they come to study at the university. For online partnerships, I think this is going to be a very exciting time. Till now, there is a regulatory structure which makes us formal education providers, and then there are some like add-ons or upskilling platforms which are online. I think this distinction has to fade away. There should be no formal or informal kind of institute. Everyone should be, the student should have the complete freedom to choose what they want to learn, why they want to learn, how they want to learn, and where they want to learn. Once our regulatory system starts opening up, which has already announced 100 universities will be allowed to do online degrees. So this will expand. Even the corporates will not worry whether a student has a degree or not, because the corporate is looking for skills that are needed on the job. Whether we are a university or not, the success of our learning outcomes will depend on whether the student can the student use those learnings at a workplace or in their own startups. So that is why I think we should not look at these as two distinct things. They are merging into a common purpose.
I think that's very well put. We'll be just wrapping up in another 5 to 10 minutes. My question to you, Mr. Datta, it's a very hard-pressing question. Government policing in higher education sector, specifically during the times of COVID-19. How do you think the government policy will take into action? Is the government policy a hindrance for trying something new, for innovating? Or like Sahil said, the boundaries have to get merged with the innovation, and edtech collaboration has to get much higher. Do you think government policing is apt at this moment?
You're talking related to COVID or in general?
I'm talking categorically that in COVID-19 situation, the government policing is all the more important, right?
Government policy or policing?
Government policy on a higher education system, do you think?
But regarding working with these edtech companies, I think government has been quite supportive of doing these open courses and all that. Whatever you're talking about, Upgrade or others mainly have open programs.
Yeah.
So if a NAC or an NBA come, they are giving you a huge number of marks actually for how much of open-ended programs you're doing. Swayam, private, doesn't matter. So that way, I don't think in part of this point of view, government is an hindrance. In terms of day-to-day operating, luckily for us, we've not had any problem. From the state government or central government in the last 10 years, we've not faced any problem. You have to do the paperwork that needs to be done. You have to file the 20 things the government asks you to file. You have to follow the 20 days or celebrations the government asks you. See, somewhere you have to work in a system. So that part is fine. We've not had much of a problem. Regarding this, yes, I absolutely agree with Sahil is that there's a long time ago, this distance education was going on, but then you saw a lot of people flouted the regulations. You understand from there where the government is coming at. Government inherently from the secretariat level to the minister would understand that online education is the need of the hour because it would reduce the cost of education. In India, education is still a huge investment for most parents.
Yeah.
Online education is the only thing that could bring it down and give it to more people. But then we have to go slow in India. We have to understand the genuine problem, which I think all of us would agree. Meaning all of us here would be here for the right reason. We have the heart in the right place. But all of us would right now vouch that if it's opened up for all, you know what is going to happen. So government has to have a very safe approach.
Don't you see
Eventually that day is coming. We are also looking forward.
don't you seek a lot of a little deregulation with respect to the way government is actually running?
But then there is deregulation. I don't see much day to day actually
A
interference.
very little,
What
a
to
very
do.
small example of distributing an online degrees. Only
That's-
certain universities are allowed to do that. I mean, by
The government has to start somewhere. Who will
Yeah.
they allow? They can allow us on face value. How do they know who's genuine, who's not? So they are giving credibility based on your NARC grade, which is kind of somewhere you have to start with something. But on face value, how do you accept who's good, who's not? Who's going to do a good job? Who's going to flout the rules? There is no benchmark for that. It's not written anywhere. So they have to start somewhere. So I'm happy government is starting. So I hope every year government will learn and be more adaptable and give systems where more and more people can give. Eventually, there will come a day where you can have an entirely virtual university. Having this kind of government regulation, 20 acres of land, one playfield, one that I think is redundant. I have been to the best university, London in US. There is no football field. They are not bad universities. Singapore universities, do they have to have a football field and a basketball court? Now, why are we still stuck on these things when there is a checklist and you're still checking all these things? There is this redundancy is there, but then I hope slowly these things go out. Main emphasis should always be on knowledge transfer. Right now, I believe more and more focus is on knowledge transfer, even then if it's not 100% by the government. But I think positively we're getting at that, where the government focus and regulation will be only on that, not these periphery requirements of land, XYZ and all that, which is not required. As long as the universities are very good systems are developed to do perfect knowledge transfer, skill transfer, it's a great university. No other thing should be looked at. What kind of systems are brought about? I don't know, but I hope that comes.
Thanks, Mr. Datta. Sakshi, you have been a budding entrepreneur. What do you categorically do to imbibe that entrepreneurship for the younger generations who are joining Sage University?
You're asking me from a perspective of an entrepreneur or from the perspective of an educationist, like.
Yes, from the perspective of an educationist.
Okay, so what should the young generation do?
No. What are you doing to imbibing the entrepreneurship skill? Because you yourself are entrepreneur. You are a young leader. So what are you categorically doing to build that entrepreneurship spirit?
See, I can say that to be an entrepreneur, you don't have to you study entrepreneurship to learn about the theories and the ways and the programs, different strategies and all. But entrepreneurship is all about learning hands-on. I have done BBA, MBA, but the learning that I've gained after joining the business full time has been exponential. And I think if to any entrepreneur who wants to out there, any entrepreneur, to succeed, be within the fraternity of entrepreneurs and try to learn what are they doing, right? What is their mindset? Don't be around people who think that something cannot happen. Just be around people who think that why can't I do it, right? The first thing is the mentality that I think the students need to change if they think that they want to be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur has to listen to a lot of no's. A lot of people will say no to them, but there will be one person out there who will say yes after your 100 or 200 emails. So to everyone out there, do not give up and listen. How do you do that? How do you stay in the positive mindset of not giving up? Keep listening to motivational videos. there have been recently Sage University tied up with Vivek Bindra, and we will be offering. Vivek Bindra is one of the most renowned and revered entrepreneur, you can say, in Madhya Pradesh, and we have tied up with him to provide entrepreneurship lessons to the to our students, for free. And I think this kind of tie-ups with entrepreneurs themselves, and he will bring his pool of entrepreneurs to come and teach entrepreneurship. So I think this will really help learn on what an entrepreneur and how an entrepreneur should be. So I can only say that to be an entrepreneur, you should have a very thick skin. You should have a very thick skin and just be in the mindset that I need to do something, and failure will come. You will be scared sometimes, but there is sunrise after dawn, right? So that.
On that positive note, Sahil, you also have a school of entrepreneurship, if I'm not wrong, in Rishihood University. How that spirit of entrepreneurship actually imbibed in the students?
So actually, for us, it's a very core issue, entrepreneurship. We not just have a school of entrepreneurship to train students in BBA and MBA to start up their companies, but the school also feeds into all our other schools and all our other activities, so that students who are even into creative arts like music and dance, like healthcare, like teachers, everyone gets that entrepreneurship spirit. The way the school is designed is more like an incubator, as Sakshi was saying. Entrepreneurship is not be learned in books. So the way we have designed the program, it's quite interesting that the students come and they start working on their ideas. And as they move ahead in the program, they get inputs in terms of training, like boot camps and intense workshops. So it is an incubator where we also do, where we also teach rather than the other way around. So I think entrepreneurship is a key factor in defining India's future talent, and all educational institutions must adopt entrepreneurship.
Great. So the poll results are also coming in, and gladly they're very highly skewed towards the younger generation of leadership. For example, 88% of the respondents actually believe that young generation at the leadership role will emphasize more on skills acquisition and its application rather than just a degree. 93% actually agree that the younger generation will actually shift the marketing and delivery of the programs and other functions to the online modes. I mean, it's highly skewed towards the young leadership. So time to wrap up, and we really want your closing remarks, starting with Mr. Hareen. Your closing remarks on how India can actually increase its gross enrollment ratio. Currently, it's at somewhere around 26.8%. How gradually and how we can increase the gross enrollment ratio for India? Over to you, Mr. Hareen. Your closing comments as well.
Yeah, what I see is like a massive country like India in terms of population. There's a lot more to be done in terms of investment into education. Like government spending, firstly, I would say has to increase. That is my sincere suggestion. If there are any influencers watching this video. So, and secondly, this new form of teaching learning methodology, which is now evolving because of COVID-19, which is digital learning, will be the most effective solution to actually, educate more Indians, to make them, could be literate, or even to have higher degrees also to that level. So digital education will only be the methodology to scale really fast education. Now we are seeing internet penetration going deep and deep. People who don't know how to read and write are now using internet somehow. That we are seeing in rural communities. So in that way, like how a child can be shown, videos and made, make them learn, this is apple, this is ball, and things like that. Like that, this digital methodology can be used to scale up our classroom teaching, to resolve problems like, lack of quality faculty in schools. Addressing all of this, these digital platforms will definitely be useful in reaching out more people and educating more people. And it is definitely the need of the hour. And good policies from the government side and investment from the government side will definitely help in this. Even if there is good policies, the private sector will take up from there, and will transform Indian education. And then definitely now, if we see our India's fertility rate has dropped. It is close to replacement fertility. Which actually means that Indians are not looking at children as somebody who will do menial jobs and earn for the family, but rather they're looking, that they want to reduce the number of kids and to invest more on their education. And then, in that way, people are thinking. So we can see in 2020, our fertility rates are very close to replacement fertility. So I think definitely in the next one decade itself, you would definitely see probably doubling the gross enrollment, what you have mentioned, which is at 26% or so. So that is my expectation with this digital transformation.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mr. Hareen. Ms. Sakshi, your closing comments and how the role the young leadership has to play for increasing the India's gross enrollment ratio.
I think that on my closing remarks, that to increase the GMR is to keep up with the global standards. And if you say about US, if it's 84% there and it's only 18% in India, then I think it's because people are moving out to study, right? And we just want to give a university where people think, where the students and the parents think that they don't have to send their child out to get the global knowledge. They can be closer to home, they can be closer to their parents or closer to the community and study here and yet be globally acceptable. So that's what we have tried to do with the types that we have in the international area, that you go there, you learn about them, become global, but you have to act local. So I think that this is my closing remark. The only thing that will increase GMR is to have global tie-ups where a student thinks that if he enters the university, he will get exposure, which will be beneficial if he stays in India, if he stays in US or wherever in the world. So I think that that will be very beneficial.
Thanks, Sakshi. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Sahil,
you.
your closing comments, please, and how the young leadership will play the role in increasing India's GER.
Thanks, Tanjot. So, looking at this issue of GER, I'll categorically state that I'm not entirely convinced about this idea of everybody going to a university. University is not the place where everyone should be going. Sometimes 4 years is actually a waste of time, and we must realize that as people who are leading a university, sometimes this becomes difficult. Even as a government minister or official, it becomes difficult to say that. But learning is different from getting a degree, and a lot of population, what they need is vocational skills and learning and livelihood. Putting them into a university and a degree which does not give them a job is a waste of time. So we must ensure that our learning levels increase, but that does not mean that our GER increases. Now, as a young leader, my closing comments would be that if there are young students and young professionals watching this webinar, this is a very exciting time to be in India. So never stop your learning, because there is no limit to learning, and when there is no limit to learning, that will define your success. If they are faculty members, I would encourage them to put trust and faith in their young students. They're not there to disregard us or disrespect us. Just that their way of thinking is different, and we must appreciate where they're coming from. And that is when we will be able to build a very strong trust in our universities. If there are parents, please let your children go out and explore, because the world has expanded much beyond where we left it. And the kind of opportunity that India has now, if we just reflect on this, I don't think over the last 1,000 years, I would just say that 1,000 years, we have not had this kind of an opportunity where we are a stable economy, where we are a stable democracy, a growing international presence. And if we do not make use of this time now, then when would we do it?
Thanks a lot, Sahil. Mr. Datta, your closing comments and how India can increase its gross enrollment ratio.
I'll add to something like Sahil said. As he mentioned, everyone need not have a degree, but still in India, there's a lot of interest and a lot of also social factor to get a degree in many areas. So what we need is a lot of flexibility. Like as we are moving to a fully flexible credit system, and the government has also come up with a new skills framework that needs to be more functional and framework. Even if I study vocational courses, I need to transfer some credit. And even if it takes me 10 years, via virtue of a bouquet of credits, I should be able to get a degree. It would transfer a lot of this skilled or vocationally trained people to a degree, because there is still a lot of interest to be a graduate, which is very important that you have to understand from the societal point of view. Online, that would be the only way to do it, which almost NSDC is already doing, even certification and assessment notes. But that system, I hope, becomes much more easier and it reaches to more people in the coming years. Then a lot of these so-called half-skilled or semi-skilled people would also be able to convert it into degrees, which would affect the ratio that you're talking about. Secondly, I personally believe that in India, because of a lot of systems that we have, education is still very expensive. It still doesn't reach to 80% of the people who are leaving a school. 80% of them cannot even afford a proper private education. We all have scholarships, but we somewhere agree that we still cannot reach out to even 5 to 10% of them. So export industry is given support. They are given power subsidy. We are still buying power like how a hotel is. We are trying to lobby with the government. A factory would buy power at a subsidized rate, but the university is buying at full-fledged commercial rate. So these, as an industry, we need to figure out if these benefits are passed on, land, loans, like as an export industry gets, as per there are competing market forces would drive them to give the benefit to the student. And I would affect a lot of people to come forward. These are two of the biggest changes. Secondly, government sector has a lot of colleges. I know in Guwahati, there's a college which has 120 seats for BSc in Sanskrit. There are 5 students. That entire infrastructure and faculty is just lying idle. Government is spending crores every year on that. Rationalization of the government sector is very important. That money can well be going to a BB or a BCA course, and the government is already spending so they can get 120 kids to study free of charge. But that is not happening. So these rationalizations at the government level are very critical. You will have thousands of seats which are already funded but going waste in India. So these 4-5 things, if are done immediately in the next 2-3 years, you can have a lot more vacant seats which are free, and the private sector also can transfer a lot of these benefits to the students, which realize a lot of reduction in fees and hence more enrollment.
I think that's really well put, Mr. Datta. On that note, to the viewers, that was the panel for today evening. Higher education, I think, today finds itself in a society in flux, and it is becoming increasingly difficult for the education incumbents to actually keep up. I think almost everything which is developed for the 20th century workforce is being dismantled and restructured. Higher education is no exception to it. The universities have to reevaluate their roles now and what they could grow to be in the future. We will have to acknowledge that educational systems and pathways of the future will be better served by an alternative and innovative models that not necessarily add up for up to 4 to 5 years. India, at the end of the day, is a very young country, and this young panel, in a way, kind of assured that yes, the future of Indian education is moving to the right hands. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and thanks a lot.
Thank you. It was nice to be here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.